Hey, I'm Shudder curator Sam Zimmerman. I'm here with Shudder's guest curator for the month, Alan Palomo of Neon Indian. Alan, can you tell us a little bit about how you first got into horror?
Well, I mean, I've just, been a movie buff for the longest time, and when I started making music, a lot of it was influenced by some of the bands that you see showing up on horror movie soundtracks. My favorite iteration of it would be a band like Goblin, where it's equal parts dance music and funky and upbeat in certain components, but also just scary as hell.
Your first pick is Driller Killer. It starts with "This film should be played loud." It's an extreme tale from Abel Ferrara. What is it about Driller Killer that captivates you by Abel Ferrara?
Well, I think it's amazing that, just right out of the gate, you know it's Abel Ferrara, even if it's his first picture, but he seems to be obsessed with this concept of, like, people pushed to their extremes. But in Driller Killer, it's just someone being pushed to the limits, just trying to make it in New York as an artist, which I think is something that a lot of people can relate to.
Reno, the worst thing that can happen to a painter is happening to you. You're becoming simply a technician.
I also like that it showcases the New York punk scene, which is definitely very Ferrara.
They really sound good on their album.
Album? These guys have an album?
I mean, speaking of punks on film, you have Class of Nukem High, which is a trauma essential. It's sort of a horror punk rock essential.
What's going on?
What was your introduction to Class of Nukem High, but also to trauma?
With Class of Nukem High, it seems to just be like the John Hughes movie on acid. It still has moments where it feels like it could almost pass off as like a sincere, teen comedy, and then just flies off the rails into total trauma territory.
I mean, what's great about trauma is when you're young and you're getting into weirder cinema, counterculture, I mean, it's such an outright rejection of the mainstream.
And the fact that you could also do it yourself. I think that's kind of been much of the ethos of trauma as the years have gone on. And I think it's really, empowered a lot of young filmmakers to go out there and just be like, get a bunch of ketchup, get your friends together, get a fake knife, and we'll just tell a story,
Both trauma and Driller Killer deal in extremes, and one of your picks is possibly the most extreme. It's a film called Angst.
You've got movies like Silence of the Lambs, which try to bring you into the psychology of a serial killer.
Ja?
Ich schieße jetzt.
But there's also a movie like Angst, which just shows you in very sort of cut and dry details just who this guy is, and then we just, the exposition's done, and we just go right into the action of it. So it kind of just becomes this like savage ride in real time.
Ich habe mir es ganz anders vorgestellt. Viel, viel dramatischer.
And that to me feels way more like a window into what someone who would be inclined to do something like that would be, than to watch a movie that very much so feels like a Hollywood depiction of something like that,
A lot of your picks are from a particular era, late 70s to the mid to late 80s. Close that out with Demon.
What I love about that movie is that it pays tribute to the medium.
Trick or treat.
Horror movie. I knew it.
What I'm assuming by that point, zombie films are already a few decades, into production, and you're able to start playing with form and make it postmodern to a certain extent. And I love that they're watching a movie about a horror film, and that the images on the screen begin to reflect what's happening in real life.
It's the movie! Stop the movie!
So you do have a sort of lone contemporary film within your picks, and Simon Killer. What do you love? What captivates you about Simon Killer?
I think partly in that it took me a while to realize that it was a horror film. Because I think it starts off, and it's about this guy on his European trip, he's treating France like it's his playground. You start realizing that it's just a film about a complete sociopath. In that regard, I think it makes it a very important film because, it's pretty, it's a tough pill to swallow,
Alan, thanks for coming. Thanks for talking horror.
Yeah,
you can
pleasure.
find all of Alan's picks on Shudder. And Alan, where can they find you?
Well, I'll be on the road much of the summer, and we'll be playing a show in New York later in the month, and just check the website.
Cool.